A lot of doomers going on about how this is co-opting Bitcoin and destroying the mission for Bitcoin. This idea that Donald Trump is out there looking out for the long-term survival of the dollar, I find to be not very compelling. In reality, I think it's just a high-time preference politician decision where it's very good for him in the short term, it's bad for the dollar in the long term. A lot of that demand is being recycled effectively. And debt is so huge. So it sounds nice, and I think the US government is counting on this to an extent, but as Lynn Alden likes to say, nothing stops the strain.
Let me break this down for my fellow Bitcoiners. In just 8 weeks, I've seen a serious shift. More strength, more energy, and fast muscle gains. The reason? FITSCRIPT. They ran 124 biomarkers, blood, hormones, inflammation, and built a fully custom plan, nutrition, training, supplements. No guesswork, no templates. This is functional medicine meets precision fitness for high-performing men who want sovereignty over their health. If you care about optimization the way you care about your money, test, don't guess. Don't trust, verify. Hit the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to check out FITSCRIPT and see what's possible.
Abundant Mines is an Oregon-based husband and wife-owned Bitcoin mining company making Bitcoin mining accessible to investors of all ages and experience levels. Their fully managed white glove service allows you to own all of your own equipment and earn steady Bitcoin-denominated income without lifting a finger. Whether you're starting with 10,000 or 10 million, Abundant Mines is your one-stop shop. No overseas call center, no surprise upcharges. With one-on-one onboarding, consulting, and help navigating both Bitcoin and the Bitcoin mining space at every turn, you can rest easy while Bitcoin flows to you 24/7. Learn more at abundantminds.com.
A lot of people referring to a lot of the regulations and bills and things like that in the U.S. that have happened just through the beginning of this administration. A lot of people seeing them positively, but we've also seen things like the Genius Act, which is bolstering stable coins. And I'm curious your thoughts around this, because on one hand, people are looking at this positively in a roundabout way. They're saying, okay, well, what is this doing? It's going to prop up demand for US dollars by making them more accessible to average people, which props up demand for the treasuries. But the link that some Bitcoiners are making is the holders of the treasuries are making profits, and in the example of Tether, dumping them into a Bitcoin treasury for themselves. So I'm curious, with all the nuance there, with everything that goes on, and the US seemingly very much pushing the adoption of stablecoins, do you see this as something that is negative or something that is in the long term positive for Bitcoin? How do you think of all this?
I think people are overstating both sides of the argument in terms of it being positive or negative. I think the idea that it's going to have a massive impact on saving the dollar is, I think, massively overstated. And that was the topic of my talk at the Bitcoin conference, because I think one thing that people are missing is, yes, people are going to start using more Tether and more stable coins, but that's going to be displacing the use of other dollar-denominated instruments and dollar-backed instruments. So yes, people are going to, stop using the Argentinian or Brazilian or Turkish currencies and start using stable coins instead of them. And so that's more demand for treasuries. It's true. However, the Turkish central bank, the Brazilian central bank, the Argentinian central bank, and all of these central banks, they also buy treasuries. So it's not entirely new demand. A lot of that demand is being recycled effectively. And the other thing I think is that, and that was the mathematics that I did in the Bitcoin conference talk, if you look at just how much demand for Tether can grow, ultimately, it's not really going to make that big of a dent in the overall fiscal picture for the United States government. The debt is so huge, and demand for physical cash in terms of dollars, or I should say, actually, some of the demand that Tether is going to displace is physical cash. So it's going to be eating some physical cash. It's going to be eating fiat currencies backed by treasuries. And but ultimately, that's still not such a big deal compared to the enormous size of the deficit. And so if you project the deficit growing over the next 10 years at the same rate at which it's grown over the last 10 years, then you predict some kind of massive growth in Tether adoption, you're still not going to be getting a significant reduction in the in the debt burden for the U.S. government. So it sounds nice, and I think the U.S. government is counting on this to an extent. The current regime is happy to promote this idea that it's going to strengthen the dollar, but as Lynn Alden likes to say, nothing stops this train. So I doubt this is going to make such a big difference. And on the other hand, I also doubt this whole idea that this is going to co-opt Bitcoin. This is going to lead to Bitcoin bolstering the dollar. There are a lot of doomers going on about how this is co-opting Bitcoin and destroying the mission for Bitcoin. I don't think it's going to be really making a difference in that regard, because ultimately, Bitcoin's out there competing against all these enormous other forms of money that are much, 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 much larger than Bitcoin. And they're all going to be eating each other. So yeah, people might shift from one fiat currency to another. And likely the dollar is going to continue to dominate the fiat world. But Bitcoin ultimately is so small that a small increase in the size of the Bitcoin, a small increase in the demand for Bitcoin is going to translate to much larger increases in price versus the dollar, which is essentially already the dominant market. It's already the vast majority of global cash balances are in dollars and in treasuries and in currencies that are backed by dollars and treasuries. So this is, it sounds like the optimist USD coin, shitcoin fanatics might want to pretend that this is going to bring Bitcoin's NGU, number go up technology, to the dollar, but it can't, because the dollar is just so enormous that even if more demand goes to Tether than Bitcoin over the coming years, even if Tether gets more marginal demand over the next few years, that is a drop in the bucket compared to the overall demand for the dollar. So it's not going to make a big difference. Whereas a smaller amount of demand for Bitcoin is still going to pump the Bitcoin price significantly. So I still think it changes nothing ultimately. It helps. It helps the fiat people feel better about their shitcoin continuing to collapse. It helps them maybe find more bag holders. But ultimately, I think I have a very cynical interpretation here, which is that, let's face it, this idea that Donald Trump is out there looking out for the long-term survival of the dollar, I find to be not very compelling. I think he is a high-time preference Democratic politician, and he is a very self-interested Democratic politician. He's a businessman. He's always had a good instinct, well, maybe not so good, but he's always been very keen to increase his wealth. And, he launched his own stupid shitcoin right before he got into office and likely made billions of dollars along with his family from that shitcoin scam. So he definitely seems like the kind of person who would convince himself that, to put it politely, he'd convince himself, although a more cynical interpretation would be that he would just try to convince others that what is good for him is good for the government, and what is good for him is good for the country. And so, you saw that with the Epstein files, how he covered them up, and he just said, we need to move on and talk about other things. And you can see how it's in his interest to play along with his Bitcoin and shitcoin industry donors to go along with the whatever these guys want, because they put a lot of money into his campaign. They helped him launch his shitcoin. He's got some Bitcoin. And so it's good for him. He's making money out of it. So all of this stuff that he says about, it's going to support the dollar, it's going to help the dollar, it's going to make the dollar stronger, it's going to take pressure off the dollar. I don't think any of that stuff makes sense, but I can see how he would be very good at convincing himself that it makes sense. Ultimately, in reality, I think it's just a high time preference politician decision where it's very good for him in the short term. It's bad for the dollar in the long term. And so, let him have at it.
Fair enough.
Hey, you. Yes, you watching the Bitcoin price movements and the latest exciting news. It's awesome to stay informed, but the real power of Bitcoin comes from taking control. Don't just watch, take action. Head over to btcsessions.ca/learn for free step-by-step tutorials that guide you through every major skill you need to know, plus full video playlists for deeper dives on any topic you like. And if you're ready for the ultimate fast track, scroll to the bottom and check out bitcoinmentor.io for premium one-on-one experience with my team of Bitcoin experts to ensure you get it right the first time. Don't wait. Secure your Bitcoin future today. Hit the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen.